Hey everyone, it's Tiffany Shree, and today I wanted to make an updated symptoms list for all the symptoms that I suffer from due to my Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. The last video that I made... Hi Bill! Look who's come to visit. Hello! So beautiful. This is Belle, and I love her with all my heart. And I take so many videos and photos of her. So much cat hair. If you are a cat lover and you want to see some photos and videos of her, head over to my Instagram. I'll link the details below. So basically, in my first video that I posted with my symptoms list, I wasn't even sure at the time if I had Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. Now that I've studied a lot more and read a lot more about the disease, I wanted to just make an updated kind of like staple list that I can always come back and refer to in the future whenever I'm making videos about the Hashimoto's. So I'm also going to post in the down bar below a master list of over 300 symptoms that you can potentially be suffering from due to your Hashimoto's. I think the biggest thing for me that stood out when learning more about this disease that I suffer from and that many of you potentially could suffer from is that there are so many things that you go through in life that I thought were not related. Like I all thought that they were separate and individual and on their own, and then come to find out they're all because of this thing. Okay, so I'm just going to be reading off a list on my laptop. Alright, so starting from the top, it is very easy for me to gain weight and it is incredibly hard to lose weight. That's something that is one of the major standout factors or symptoms that you'll see with a lot of people who suffer from hypothyroidism and Hashis, is that in order to lose weight like a normal person would, you have to work out and diet like twice as hard, and you just gain weight like crazy easily, and it's all over. Like you don't necessarily gain weight in one specific spot, you kind of look swollen everywhere. So when it comes to hair loss, I've read quite a few articles that said that the average amounts of hair loss is about 50 to 100 strands a day. And that's also considering when you shower, people tend to scrub their head when they're using shampoo and conditioner a lot harder than normal, so a lot of hair does come out there. I have found that I just shed so much like a cat, like I just lose so much hair. My dad used to complain that there was just hair covering the tile floors. So definitely suffer from hair loss. Another symptom of Hashimoto's is premature grayness. Now I do have these two gray streaks here. They're called Malin streaks, and they run in my family. Both my dad and my brother have them. So again, I'm not sure if that is 100% because of the Hashimoto's, but premature grayness is a symptom of Hashis. Cold and numb extremities. So my fingers and my feet, my hands, my nose are always extremely cold. Even at work, in the office, I keep a pair of fingerless gloves so that I can keep typing, but my whole life has always been super cold. I always have to go to sleep with socks on, and even in college, I remember my roommate would have the temperature set to a pretty normal setting, but I would just be freezing. My fingernails were turning blue. Chronic fatigue, I mentioned this in my previous video as well, my other symptoms video. My whole life I was always told I was like Sleeping Beauty. I just always sleep so much ever since I can remember. No matter how much I slept or how well I slept, I was always waking up feeling exhausted. I missed quite a lot of work and school, even in college as well. So I just felt just drained. And there's a lot of quotes going around that say like, you don't know tired until you felt hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's tired. Like this feeling of fatigue is just so draining, and yeah, so definitely suffered from that. So because of this chronic fatigue, I often need naps. I often oversleep, so those are some signs to look out for. I also suffer from brain fog and memory loss. Now, the memory loss doesn't hit me as frequently as, for example, the chronic fatigue, which I still suffer from all the time. I know that I need to get my levels checked, or like something's up and I need to go see my doctor when I'm feeling this brain fog come on, and it'll happen a lot at work, and of course they're all like pretty tied together, but the brain fog is just a feeling of like mental confusion. Like I don't want to say like disassociation because I know that that is a separate term and diagnosis on its own, but that's the best way that I can describe it. I have very dry and itchy skin, and I have very brittle nails that crack and are very like flaky, and they break like lengthways. I also have chronic constipation. I thought that it was very normal for people to take a crap every 2 or 3 days, or like you'd know that you needed to because your back was hurting because it hadn't happened in that long. So I think that I'll talk at the end about going autoimmune paleo as far as like a diet and eating regimen, but that's definitely helped. But yeah, chronic constipation is another major sign to look for. I also have very, very bad periods, like so excruciatingly painful. In my previous Hashimoto's video, my doctor thought that I may have polycystic ovarian syndrome. I have yet to go get tested because it's really hard for me to get time off work. But that could be another contributing factor, is the PCOS. But a lot of female Hashimoto sufferers tend to have like really horrible, heavy, painful periods. I mentioned before in my older video that you get eyebrow hair loss, so from the middle and out. Yep, still very thin hair. I'm not good at filling them in. I'm not like Instagram eyebrows on fleek. Like I'm not too good at that. But yeah, I definitely have eyebrow hair loss from pretty much like the middle and out. I mentioned previously that you look very swollen. I think oedema is the word, when you just have a lot of like retention of fluids, especially in like your calves and your feet. So you just, yeah, everywhere looks swollen and gain weight evenly everywhere. If it runs in your family, that is another factor to consider. My mom, my aunt, and my cousin all have thyroid diseases. Hashimoto's directly affects your ability to absorb vitamins and minerals. So with regards to calcium or bone problems, which is another frequent issue that will come up, my kneecaps always dislocate, and my hips were dislocated. I had to wear leg braces, just like Forrest Gump. That was when I was a child though. But still to this day, my kneecaps dislocate really easily. Same thing with B vitamins, which relates to asthma. This was another thing that I thought was completely separate from my Hashimoto's. I had no idea that your thyroid could affect your respiratory system. But yes, I suffer from asthma, which is a symptom. A new symptom that I didn't mention in my old video, again, apparently like when doing research, this is a classic way to test for hypothyroidism, but I didn't think that this was related, but slow Achilles reflex. So you'll notice that your Achilles tendon is slow to respond, slow to react and relax. Very frequent sinus infections and very frequent bronchitis infections. You get colds and flus all the time. I am very susceptible to bronchitis and sinus infections and even yeast infections and the occasional urinary tract infection. I get the sensation of air hunger. So that's just where you feel like no matter how much, like you feel like you're not getting as much air or as much breath that you need. I also feel like I have the sensation of a lump in my throat. I may have mentioned in a previous video that one of the endocrinologists I saw said that I do actually have a nodule or like on my thyroid, but he said it was too small to worry about. I have persistent teeth clenching. I don't know if it's necessarily TMJ. I know when I was younger, I had to learn how to sleep or, spend a lot of time with my mouth open because I was constantly clenching my teeth. And if you have a propensity for cavities. So if your teeth are really sensitive as well. I suffer from oversensitive hearing. Now, I really feel like this one is kind of borderline. It is a symptom of Hashimoto's and I do suffer from it. However, I feel like, I don't know if it was brought on or triggered or exacerbated by the fact that I've worked in a call center for the past 2.5 years. I honestly feel that constant wearing a headset has really brought on some tinnitus symptoms, but tinnitus is a symptom of Hashimoto's as well. I've also occasionally felt sensations of vertigo where you're like dizzy and lightheaded, usually tied to the inner ear. So this is another symptom of Hashimoto's. Again, who knew? My eyelids frequently spasm. I bruise very easily. I suffer from hives and allergies. I get heel spurs and wrist or joint pain. I don't know if you could hear that, but that happens pretty much on my ankles as well, which is another symptom. I'm officially deficient in vitamin D and iron as well. I think that is pretty much it as far as all my symptoms that are directly relating to Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. So I can go ahead and list them in the down bar below as well. Do check out that link that I mentioned in the down bar below that has pretty much a lot of other symptoms even that I don't suffer from, but I know that other people do. So I have started for the past 3 weeks, 2 weeks, almost been eating according to the autoimmune paleo protocol. So this is something that my doctor recommended to me. I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor, like this is just me documenting my life and my journey with my Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. So let's say about 70% of the time I've been eating AIP. I've actually lost a couple kilos, I've noticed, and I honestly think that it is because I've cut out so much stuff that directly negatively affects your thyroid. So maybe I'll make a second video about the recipes that I've been eating and the recipes that I've been using and how to transition to AIP. It's very hard for me. I've always tried to do the elimination diet before, but I don't know what happened. I was just like, fuck it, I need to do it. I need to get healthy. So give this video a thumbs up if you'd like to hear some recipes and some meals and like breakfast and dinners that I do according to autoimmune paleo. So I hope this video was helpful if any of y'all are trying to figure out if you do have Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism. Let me know in the comment section down below if you do suffer from this, how you're going, how your journey is, and wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a beautiful day. Bye!